In this episode, we dive into how to create more intimacy and connection with our partner by learning how to take our armor off and be vulnerable with our partner, be as authentic as possible, to express what our needs are, and to be able to learn to listen with our partners.
Welcome to the R.Y.S.E Movement Podcast, a place where men just like you learn to raise your standards everywhere. So sit back, grab a pen and a pad, and let's get to work.
Welcome to another episode of the R.Y.S.E Movement Podcast. I'm Dave Kerastesi, and in this episode, we're talking all about how to make a deeper connection in your intimate relationship with your partner. So there's no hiding the fact that men are desperate for love and affection. It's something that I've done a lot of work around in myself. It's something that I do a lot of work with the male clients that I work with, and men are just... they're yearning. There's a quiet desperation of love and affection. Something as simple as a nice pat on the back saying, "Well done, mate," from our partners, from our colleagues, from anyone, really, to be honest. That level of desperation will come out and show itself in hollow relationships. It'll show itself in mediocre results in life. All because inside we aren't getting told that we're worthy. We aren't getting told how much we're actually needed to be around, how much love that we have around us. And it's a shame, because every single bloke needs to know that you are worthy, that you are loved, that you have so much goodness and worth inside of you just because you are you. And it's not told enough, especially in our relationships. I know how much it affects me when I'm in my head and I'm not feeling the greatest. When I just need my fiance to come up and just give me a cuddle and to give me a kiss, look at me and say, "Hey, I love you. You're doing okay." The little moments that I have with her where she reinforces that I'm a good dad, that I'm a great partner, that I do all these things around the house, that I do these things for the family, and, you know, my sacrifices are noted, like that fucking means a lot to me. And we just had a moment here before, actually, where I said, "Hey, I need a little bit more affection at the moment. I need a little bit more love because I'm not feeling quite myself at the moment." Like I've said a few times, we've got some stuff going on at the moment, and it's overwhelming. It's fucking tiring. It takes a lot of my mental power all day, every day, to deal with what we're dealing with. And I just said to her this morning, we sat down in my office, and I said, "Hun, I need more love and affection. I just need some more. Do you have some more available?" And we had a bit of a discussion, and she's feeling it too. You know, it's something that we're all going through as a family. And the main thing to get out of this point, I guess I'm making at the start here, is it's okay to ask. If you're needing a little bit more love and attention and affection, there's no reason why you can't ask for it. Your partner isn't a mind reader. She's not going to know what's going on inside your head, especially if you aren't great at communicating. So one of the best things that you can do is learn to communicate your needs. It's actually one of the points that I've got here, is to ask what you need, because she isn't a mind reader, but do it by taking your armor off. You know, as men, we try to sit there and act all tough and that we're responsible and we provide and we protect and we secure our households, and, you know, we're this strong macho man. We're, you know, the definition of masculinity. But yet we have a softness to us. We have this gentle, vulnerable, emotional heart inside of us all. Every single bloke has it, whether you've stuffed yours down far away or yours is right at the surface like mine. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to bare your soul, especially to your queen. If you can't talk to her about your emotions and you can't express what your current experience is of life, or even tell her just how much you need her to step up and to give you a little bit more love and affection, you're missing out. One of the things that I'm so lucky with my relationship is the ability to communicate freely. We can hold space for one another because we've set up that paradigm to be able to allow me to take my armor off and not be, you know, macho and bravado and all these kinds of things, and just to bare my soul. I don't do well holding that stuff in. That's how I was raised in my childhood, was to hold that shit in, to be in my bedroom and to sort it out for myself. You know, no wonder I fell into a depression. No wonder I was, anxious, and I looked for any kind of validation from anyone around me, because I had so much inside of myself, so much emotions. And a lot of you guys do too. Just because you're dealing with stuff internally doesn't mean you have to do it alone. And if you can't do it with your partner, like I said, you're missing out. It's so important to be able to bare your soul, and to be able to remove that armor, remove that shielding, and to be as authentic and vulnerable as you can with your partner. It builds another layer of intimacy and connection and trust inside of the relationship, because you're not hiding anything from each other. You're not sitting back and shielding your partner because you think that she doesn't need to see this because, of whatever macho upbringing you had. Men don't cry, men don't express, all these sorts of things. It's bullshit. The deeper intimacy and connection you can build through authenticity and vulnerability, the better quality your relationship will be. The more you can bare your soul and express your needs, communicate your needs effectively, use I feel statements to explain what is your experience through life, you can then create a deep understanding with your partner where she knows earlier than you know, where you can have this dialogue between you, and it just fosters more intimacy, more connection, more communication, and it just allows things to be said and to go through your soul, and to not have to carry it alone. Especially at the moment with finances getting so tight, and the cost of living skyrocketing, and if you're a millennial like me, struggling to want to buy a house because it looks like it's all going to fall over, and the great Australian dream going by the wayside, because the average property on the Gold Coast here is like $1 million for a normal 3-bedroom house, which is an absolute joke. Like, all of that stuff is inside of us, and to be able to express it with your partner, and sure, you might not come to a resolution. However, the ability to communicate and hold space for each other just takes that pressure off our shoulders. There's a lot of pressure going on as a man that we put on ourselves. And if you two can communicate inside of the relationship to be able to be there with each other, for each other, and to be able to take some of that load off, man, it's so fucking useful. Like, our household has been sick for the last 2 weeks. Rach had a couple of days off last week. She's on holidays for the 2 weeks to do stuff with the girls. And I've been bedridden as well. It was honestly the worst flu that I've had my entire adult life. And it just, we really needed each other to step up. I got sick before Rach, and then she got sick, and, we did our best. And as long as you communicate your needs, I think it makes it a hell of a lot easier, especially in times of sickness, especially in times of chaos and calamity like I talk about. And if you guys haven't been hit by chaos and calamity, it's coming. Like, your life isn't going to be perfect forever. You might be in a beautiful little love bubble right now where, you've got your little family, and everyone's doing their best, and everyone's developing well, and you're experiencing success and stuff like that, except chaos is coming. There's a saying, this too shall pass, and that's for good times and bad. If you're in a hard place right now and you're doing it tough, this too shall pass. It's not going to always be dark and hard. However, it'll change. And on the flip side, this too shall pass when things are going great. It's an understanding to know that, tomorrow is not a guarantee. You do your best in the present. However, tomorrow might change, and it might be completely different. You might have to deal with illness, injury, losing your job, losing your house, financial markets being upset, like going back into another fucking pandemic. Things aren't going to be great for all the time. And understanding that you are the only one who determines the, perception and how steadfast you are and how stoic you are in the face of adversity is going to be the thing that keeps your family afloat, and that stops people from, being like Chicken Little and screaming that the sky is falling. You are the rock inside of your family. You don't have to do it alone though. If you communicate with your partner and you take your armor off and you communicate your needs with one another, it allows you to be there for one another, but it also allows you to get that shit out of you. You don't have to do it alone, because you're not alone. You're in a partnership. And a partnership means, equal sides, grabbing hold of the container of the relationship and carrying it through life. Sometimes your partner's going to have to hold the weight a little bit more. She's going to be taking up, 60, 70% of the slack, and you're going to be dragging your knuckles and you're going to feel shit about it. And there's going to be other times where your partner, she's not well, and there's only 10% that she can give, if that, and you're doing a solid 90. It's okay. That's what the idea behind a relationship. That's the idea behind a marriage. It's in sickness and in health. It's in for better or worse. And if you guys can have that communication between one another where you can be vulnerable with one another, you have the ability to communicate through anything. So if you're not an effective communicator and you don't like taking your armor off and bearing your soul, let this be a warning to you to say that you only have a superficial relationship, especially when it comes to communication and connection. You need to be able to remove that armor and remove any insecurities around being seen, around feeling the true depth of your relationship, because there's a beauty beneath the surface. There's a beauty inside of deep, intimate communication. And it fosters, if anything, it fosters more love. It fosters more trust, because you can be vulnerable. The next one I want to go into it is, don't let things go on for too long, because indifference and contempt will destroy what's left. If there's things that are left unsaid in your relationship because you don't want to address it, because you don't want the conflict, it could be simple things. It could be, like I spoke about in the last episode, talking about little limp balls that turn into clusterfucks. If you don't talk about the things that are irking you, and you don't communicate effectively around your needs, around roles and responsibilities inside the relationship, around intimacy, around having sex, or, all these sorts of things, around your hopes and dreams, they can grow and they can fester, and they can grow into a contemptuous place. And what I mean by contempt is when your partner says something, or when you say something, either of you rolling your eyes at it. A place of contempt or indifference in the relationship when the other person's talking is a horrible place to be, because it means that person's basically checked out. It means that the relationship is on completely rocky terms, and it's not a great place to be. There's no equality inside of that relationship. There's no communication. There's pain around is what there is. And so what happens when there's contempt or indifference inside the relationship, you're both checking out. But at the same time, you can check in. You can re-engage into the relationship. You can renegotiate. You can recommunicate. You can recapitulate if you have to. Going through and addressing the things that aren't working in all areas of the relationship, whether it's, cleanliness, helping out around the household, cooking, cleaning, looking after the kids, picking the kids up from school, extracurriculars, hobbies and interests and friends and family and all these sorts of things, they need to be spoken about. And if you let shit go on for too long, you're going to build that indifference and you're going to build contempt in the relationship. And from what I've seen in the relationships that I've helped that have contempt inside of it, that have almost a disgust and a rejection inside of it when the other person is talking, you can't solve it. It's too far gone. So don't let small amounts of conflict be avoided. Nip it in the bud. Because if you guys are truly committed to one another for a great relationship for your whole life, to which I hope you are, then leaving these things, even if they're minuscule, even if they're tiny, leaving them go is going to turn into clusterfucks. These little limp balls are going to grow and grow and grow, and it's going to be the giant elephant in the room whenever you two come into the room together. There's going to be this thing that's left unsaid. And it could be something simple, like I said, about cleanliness or about, doing jobs around the house or picking the kids up or whatever it is. If you don't address these things and have a negotiation and communicate effectively to one another, then the contempt and the indifference is going to rise in the relationship. So don't let things go on for too long. If there's something that's irking you, bring it up. Learn to be able to communicate effectively so that if something is going on with your partner, you can braze it to them and say, hey, look, I feel really uncomfortable when this happens. I don't like it. Can we talk about it, please? So because you're taking responsibility for what you're experiencing and what your emotions are and what your thoughts are, you can raise it to the conversation and have a equal open space to be able to communicate about it that allows her side to get said, your side to get said, and then be compromise and negotiation around that thing. You don't need to sit there and just hold it in and foster, let it fester and let it grow into that giant elephant in the room where all of a sudden this smallest thing turns it into a giant fight straight away. There's better ways to communicate. There's better ways to be with one another, and quantify it when it comes to the time frame that it takes you. One thing that's really testing in our relationship is putting Sophia to bed. She just turned 6, and putting that kid to bed is hard. It's fucking hard work. She somehow has roped Rach to be into bed and get in bed with her, read stories, which is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for stories, especially, nice empowering stories and mindfulness stories and all these sorts of things. However, Rach has fallen into the trap of getting in bed with her, and it takes, honestly, about an hour and a half for Sophia to settle. That's a work in progress at the moment for us, where Rach will jump in bed and, there's a bit of compromise going on. However, that time, that hour and a half, builds up across the week. Think of it over a week, how many hours that's taking Rach and how much that is eating away at her own personal time, or eating away at time that Rach and I could have together. It's a big thing, and it just builds and builds and builds. But if you leave it go unsaid, it's just going to continue building, and there's going to be no resolution to it. There's going to be no compromise to it. So one thing that we've actually done is we've had to go buy some new beds, and inside of that, we've gotten new king singles. Can't wait for them to be delivered and the girls to be, in their bed, and they're excited. They've got their own space, and, they chose the beds and they chose the mattresses and these sorts of things, so that we're working on a compromise to be able to get Rach out of the bedroom. And so, Sophia's 6 years old now, and I've spoken to Rach. I said, hey, we need to nip this in the bud when we get the new beds. We need to put in practices to allow you to not have to get stuck in there. Read a story by all means. However, now that she's in her big girl bed, she's in there and she goes to bed, she puts herself to sleep, and that's mum and dad are still going to be here. But the moment that we say goodnight, that's it. And we've got to make sure that we have a united front about it, because this all fell apart about probably 12 months ago, where I was working a lot, and I was working a lot around sleep time. And so there was no, discipline with dad stepping in and going, no, it's time for you to go to bed. Mum has to get out. Mum's got stuff she needs to go. Mum needs to go to the gym. She's got to get lunches ready for school and stuff like that, or, whatever. And it started to devolve itself, and it happened really, really quickly. And all of a sudden there's now time where I'm free because I'm not working late at night anymore around sleep time, and Rach is stuck in bed with the girls, which it is what it is. We've got into that circumstance. However, we can get ourselves out of it. So making sure that we don't let it fester and turn into, that giant elephant in the room, where now, because Rach is in bed with the girls, I'm getting frustrated because I want time with Rach, or, I want time for Rach to have for herself, to go to the gym or do whatever she needs to do, or even sit on the couch and do nothing for 5 minutes while she just gathers her thoughts and gathers herself after the long afternoon of being with the girls. It's all compromise. Like I spoke about last episode, it's about compromise and negotiation. So in the relationship, making sure that you don't leave these things to go on too long, because otherwise it'll end up biting you, and that giant elephant grows pretty damn quickly. So this one here is something that I've spoken about before, and it's around the victim mindset. If you want to build deeper intimacy and connection with your partner, get rid of the victim mindset. Change it for a growth mindset. If you sit back and you say things like, poor me, or woe is me, or why does this always happen to me? This is life happening to you. The biggest mindset shift that you can make is around this here, saying that life happens for me, by me. I'm the one who creates everything. This gives you a sense of responsibility instead of a sense of victimhood. If you say things like, poor me, or why does this always happen to me, or nothing ever goes right, think about how gross that sounds. You're a little victim. And men are at their best when they take responsibility. Men are at their best when they take responsibility for everything in their life and they take action. And when you're aligned in mind, body, and soul towards a higher vision, you're taking responsibility, you're moving, you're shaking, you're moving towards that North Star, and you're inspired, you have purpose, everything has meaning inside of your life. You take responsibility. That is really fucking attractive to your partner. That state of responsibility and action taking, and being a man of action, being a man of integrity, is so damn inspiring, and it's so damn attractive to your partner, because it shows that, yeah, you can be dependent on. Your actions speak louder than words. You can move hell and high water and nothing's going to stop you. If anything, instead of being victimized by obstacles that happen in front of you, where chaos and calamity happens, or you hit a road bump or something like that, and you understand that this is not in the way, it's on the way, and it's going to help shape and mold you to become the man that you're going to become, and it's going to teach you, and it's going to provide so many lessons and insight into who you're becoming, that you see it as a gift and not a curse, and it's not something that is happening to you, it's happening for you. It's helping you become who you could be, and talking about unlimited potential, it's allowing you to tap into that unlimited potential. All of these things is so attractive to your partner. One of the grossest things that you can do is abdicate responsibility, is by passing the blame, passing the buck, and especially pointing it on your shoulders of your partner. If you put the things that are happening in your life on your partner's shoulders, and you say, this is your fault, why couldn't you do this, you never do anything around the house, it's not good enough, all these sorts of things, you're destroying intimacy. You are destroying the foundation and the connection that you guys had, that you're eroding trust. Take responsibility, take it on your shoulders and say, I can do this, I can fix this. It's not about accepting blame. It's about stepping up with responsibility and going, yeah, like, I've got this. Trust me. Trust in my ability to change things, to move forward, to protect, provide, and secure the family, and know that I've got our best interests at heart. Regardless if it actually is not my fault whatsoever. But I'm going to be the one to be able to make sure that I take the first steps and the first initiatory actions towards rectifying it. When you can do that, it becomes extremely attractive. You develop more connection, more trust, and it shows that you can be depended upon. There's nothing more attractive than a man who can be depended upon. And that's me saying it as a bloke. I love seeing when men get their shit together, when they can actually... Jesus Christ, that's a nice little AMG 663 outside going off. There's nothing more attractive, and this is coming from a bloke's perspective, when it comes to seeing a bloke who's got his shit together, who takes responsibility, and who's moving and shaking. God damn, I love seeing that. It makes me so inspired, because there's other brothers out there like myself who are moving hell and high water, and who will do anything to get ahead, who will do anything to provide for their family. And it's absolutely amazing. And then this last one. So this last one, it kind of goes without saying, except it needs to be said. Listen to her. Listen to her. Listen to her needs, her dreams, her desires, and don't go into it trying to fix it, unless she says, can you fix this specifically? A lot of the time, the intimacy and connection gets eroded in a relationship because as a bloke, we try and fix it. She might be venting about, what's happening at work, or, what's going on in her friendship group, or she just might need a vent. She doesn't need you to fix it. She just needs to be heard. The same as you, like at the start of this list where I spoke about communicating needs, about getting love and intimacy and affection and these sorts of things. She might need you just to be there for her, to hold space for her. She doesn't need you to fix it unless she specifically says so herself. One of the things that you can do to destroy intimacy and connection is to criticize the things that she's saying when she's saying them. A lot of the time, the main thing with Rach, when she comes home and she's had a big day and she needs to be able to express something to me, she's expressing something to me to be able to get my take on it, not so that I can fix it, but to be able to be in a dialogue between the two people. And, dialogue is the logos of two, dia, meaning two. And it's the back and forth. It's not me saying anything to reply to what she said. It's me confirming what she said to be able to say, okay, here's what I actually think about it, because I've been listening to what you've been saying, and I'm not trying to fix it. I'm trying to understand your side of the perspective and communicate with each other so that I am in the same understanding as you are, because you've understood yourself and you've been able to communicate it to me so that I can give it back to you. Like I said in a couple of, I don't know, it might be 2 episodes ago now, Communication is a two-way street, and it's all about how it's received. So if I'm sitting here with my partner, with Rachel, and she's talking about her day and she's bitching about whatever it is, and I try to fix the problem and go, oh, well, if you just did this, communication, connection, intimacy, gone. The trust of the communication has broken down. There's no mutual understanding. It's now me coming from this higher authority position and going, hey, do this, do this, do this. You should do this, you should do this. And that just, it destroys the communication. It destroys the conversation. What she's looking for is to be heard, to be seen, and for me to be able to understand her position, not so that I can jump in her side of the boat and, capsize us, but so that she actually feels felt. A lot of the time, our partners aren't looking for us to be able to fix something. They just want to be heard. And if they need to be able to think on the go while they're talking to you, then you can hold that space for them and say, yes, I understand your side of the perspective. Is there anything you need me to do? And she'll often turn around and just say, no, I just needed to be heard. And that can build extra communication, extra intimacy, extra trust inside of the relationship, because she then feels like, oh yeah, he's got my back. Yeah, he understands me. And it's something that we can do as men a lot easier as well if we communicate more effectively and say, hey, this is exactly what's going on for me. I don't need you to fix it. I just need to be heard. A lot of the time as blokes, we're not heard because we don't communicate. We don't know how to communicate effectively. And if you can learn to be a better listener, you'll become a better communicator as well. So these are some ways that you can build more intimacy and connection in your relationship. One of the main ones that I would suggest is around communication and around listening. Actively listen. Don't respond to the communication, to the conversation that you're having with your partner from a place of trying to fix it, from a place of trying to give your perspective of it. Just listen. Listen and then ask what she needs from you. And a lot of the time, she'll tell you exactly what she needs. But as men, we're too stubborn to listen to exactly what she needs. So that's it for today, guys. A episode based on deepening that connection around communication, around expressing needs, because it's really important. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. And until I see you in the next one, much love and take care.
Thank you for being with me today. Thank you for subscribing and leaving a review. It really helps us out. Until next time, take care and much love.